This is what it is. This is who I am. This is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to crawl. I'm not the one with two-star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again. So I am.
At the Oklahoma Republican Convention, State Convention, 2023. And so
I'm looking forward. I think we've got some great interviews coming up. You know, actually last night, and I pre-recorded, you'll see it here, I actually found a guy named Anthony Hudson, a trucker from Michigan who's touring the country running for President of the United States. God bless you. Good luck.
Well, he's getting around.
Yeah.
He's going to make his message heard.
And I saw him earlier talking to a fellow trucker, Congressman Josh Brecheen. So a trucker can get somewhere politically, right? We'll see. Anyway, what else we got?
Speaking of Congressman Brecheen,
Yeah.
it's pronounced Brecheen, by the way, not Brecheen, Brecheen,
Yeah.
Brecheen. Anyway, looking forward to that. And let's see, who else? Good old friend of mine, David Rader.
Yes.
Former coach of Tulsa University football and Alabama.
I did not know he did.
You didn't know that?
No, so he started there, huh?
No, he didn't start there, but he
Oh,
coached.
yeah, that's right,
He
afterwards.
coached Alabama. He's been a few places. He's been around. Good guy. We're good friends. So, in fact, before he ran, he had called me one day to ask me about running, and so we had lunch together at this place. But I was kind of honored and surprised. It's funny to me sometimes people call me and seek me out to ask me my opinion and my advice, and then I'm thinking, me? You asking me?
Mr. Gravitas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But don't give me. I had to catch myself on what I wanted to say about. Anyway. But no, so we'll see who else we can get. And
well, I think we have the most energetic, youthful Lieutenant Governor, Matt Pinnell.
we got to get Matt, who's also a friend, or you read.
Yeah.
And he was a former GOP national chairman of the RNC.
Yeah.
Republican National Committee chairman. I forgot. Yeah, it's amazing how Matt is. I mean, here's a guy straight out of college, gets involved in the Republican Party, becomes the state chairman, and then ends up being the head of the whole Republican Party nationally. But he's good. He's a smart guy.
Absolutely.
And when you look at him, he looks like he's still like in his early 20s or so. I don't even know how old he is.
Yeah, and that noise you hear in the background, we're actually on lunch break at the convention, and we got 1,000 people in the arena here at the Union High School arena. And it truly is an arena here. I didn't know it, but Eddie helped get this thing built. He was head of the booster club for this school district.
Yeah, the year they started building this thing.
You got to lay us, brother.
Well, yeah, it kind of irked me, though, because I was thinking about, here we are doing the work to raise the money to get this thing built. And my son will have graduated and will never get the privilege of using it. And sure enough, a year after he graduated, he comes back and sees this thing.
Yeah.
They actually play junior college basketball tournaments in this building.
Oh, yeah.
National tournaments. It's a huge.
It is.
I think it seats 15,000, 12 to 15,000.
Wow.
Yeah, no, 35,000 people using Trump numbers.
Oh, he's pulling a Trump on me. Yeah. Well, the difference between this and Mabee Center is Union actually does have a stadium. ORU does not.
Yeah.
Hello, Donald.
Union High School Stadium is right outside the windows over
And
here.
I was talking to a senator this morning from down in Little Dixie, and he's looking, he says, He says, I look at this beautiful palace here, and I hear them begging us for money from the legislature every year. And I said, now, come on, you have to understand, this is all local county property tax here.
Which it is.
Yeah, and I said, and you have to understand, it's only because of the dynamics of whatever Jinx High School does, Union has to better it.
Well,
And it's a back and forth.
the only way it is, but Union's always ahead.
Yeah, okay.
It's always Union first.
Yeah.
And then Owasso's joined.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Broken Arrow.
And Broken Arrow,
And
yeah.
It's crazy. I'm not for it. I hate. In fact, I've spoken out publicly against it in the local
Yeah. Now,
media before. I hate it.
Yeah.
And I started talking about it even when we were working here. I hated it.
yeah.
But
By the way, the
I used
last.
to. One last thing. I actually coached the high school soccer team, the
Yeah.
boys soccer team.
More
I
layers.
was the coach. Yeah. that hurt too. And, and they were trying to get me to say, when we did our budget, we got to turn in our budgets for next year. So, I mean, we had everything. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm inflating numbers.
Yeah.
That, new uniforms to replace the new uniforms we just had last year, new balls, new nets. And so I'm putting these numbers. Oh no, this isn't enough. You got to come up. What? We don't need anything. And I got to come up. I didn't come up with that. So that when I quit and left, and the next guy came in, they built new bleachers, new scoreboards.
Yeah.
I mean, all this kind of stuff. And it was the old rule of, if we don't ask for more, we don't get more, or we lose what we had before. That whole thing. And I saw, man. And it's local city tax bond or county.
But, and I have to say, the reason is, and Bill Blankenship told me that himself, because he did the same thing. Oh no, you got to, because sports is what sells in this district. And if that bond money doesn't include enough sports stuff, it probably won't pass.
Well, yeah, that's true. And also, it attracts residents. And your school will grow, and you get the best teachers to come because that's the school they want to teach in. Yeah,
Well,
it's screwed up. It's screwed up. It's a terrible system for education.
It is. Hey, I got to say, the last interview we have today is with a family who lost an 18-year-old daughter, and I'll let them tell their story, but you're going to want to be part of that. So that's,
I just saw they have a booth down here.
They do.
And it's a beautiful girl, young girl.
So.
And that's a tragic vaccine story. I have a daughter, and neither she nor her children are vaccinated. Period.
Oh, okay.
No, she's vaccinated.
Yeah.
But not any COVID vaccine.
Well,
and her children have never been vaccinated.
You remember when we were kids, like 10 years old or so, and the neighbor kid got chicken pox. They made us go play with that kid.
We lived in a big house in Holland when we were missionaries.
Okay.
And we had 21 people living there. We'd have guests. They were like our kids, and then another couple had a daughter. They were babies, the younger ones. Older ones were kindergarten and first grade, I think. Anyway, we have people visiting us from overseas, from America, overseas, never from the United States.
Yeah.
Anyway, and the couple from America that was visiting for that summer, their daughter and son, they had a daughter and son, and for some reason our kids brought home chicken pox.
Okay.
And the couple from America, their kids got the chicken pox, and they would tell us, "Oh, thank goodness, we came at just the right time. Our kids got chicken pox."
Yeah, there you go. Well, that was it, because it's basically benign if you're a young person, but now if you're 67 years old, it's deadly.
And what's so funny too, though, is how we were all laughing at these poor children. These kids were just miserable.
Yeah, picking scabs and it's horrible.
Mom, Dad, Daddy, Mommy.
See?
And we look at each other and go,
Yeah.
come here. And we put stuff on it.
Caladril
and then our baby, Zachary, the baby, the youngest, he ended up with like two pops.
Yeah.
It's all he got. Because I guess the younger you are, the least And so he ends up with 2 spots, and the rest of them, they were just ticked off. They were so, no, it's not fair. He's got to get more.
He had suffered enough.
Yeah. So anyway, but that was a funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. We knew a guy later, several years later. He was in the military. He was like 40, 41, and he got it. It was bad.
Yeah.
But his whole face he looked like a leopard.
Yeah.
And he was scarred for life.
Yep.
He had these spots on it for the rest of his life.
And what I understand is it's essentially the same virus that
It's
called
herpes.
scales.
Well, yeah, but it's actually herpes.
A type of herpes, yeah.
Right, herpes.
Yeah.
And then or shingles.
Yeah, shingles, that's what it is.
Yeah, shingles.
Shingles,
Yeah,
where it impacts your internal organs.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually shingles comes from chickenpox.
Yeah,
If you've had chickenpox, then you can get the shingles later. That's what they always ask you. So anyway, I'm sorry. Me always diverging into some story of mine. Forgive me, Dave.
No, it's your charge.
Forgive me. So anyway, we've got these people coming up, these guests, hopefully, that we can get and get some good interviews for you, local, state, and a couple of state, national congressmen.
Yes.
Brecheen, and maybe one other one.
Yeah.
But at least some state senators
And there were others here. Congressman Hearn, he says, I owe you one, Dave. We'll come in the studio. We just got to plan it better because their day was full. And then Governor Stitt, same thing. I ran into his people, but they said, no, we're on a tight schedule today. So anyway, those are the things. The only thing I want to say is you're picking up just the room speakerphone, microphone kind of thing. It's not that great a sound.
the background.
Yeah, because we're in a stairwell right now, to be honest with you. Just off of the mezzanine, which is overlooking the arena.
And we want to close these doors,
Won't let us.
but they're locked.
Yeah.
Locked open.
Yeah, they are. So anyway, that's our show this week coming up, and glad you're part of it. And thanks for being with us on FreshBlack.Coffee. Anthony, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Anthony Hudson. I'm from Michigan, and I am running for president in 2024.
President of...
The great United States of America.
How about that?
How about it, right?
Yeah. Now, I've done a lot of things in my life, but I've never woken up one morning and said I'm going to run for president. What led to you running for president?
I basically did just that. I recall the day, July 8th last year. I had just gotten through with a very heated debate with a friend of mine in Michigan, and the friendship dissolved because of political beliefs, and we're part of the same party, So I decided right then and there that if there was something that I could do to make a change, instead of continuing to complain and have these debates, what would it be? Well, why not throw your hat in the seat to run for president of the United States, the most powerful seat in the world, where you can actually make the change that the country needs if you're willing to listen to the people and do right by the people.
Okay.
And that's kind of where we started. And here we are about 40 million people later.
Yeah.
My name's starting to slowly move across the country.
Okay. Now, Anthony, tell us about yourself. What is it in your life that best presents you? What are your strengths from your own life that make you an ideal candidate?
Well, I think what makes me the most appealing to the people is that I'm from the people. When I say that, I truly am from the people. I am an average Joe. I'm a blue-collar man.
Okay.
I own a small trucking company in Michigan.
Oh, so you're not Joe the plumber, you're Joe the trucker.
I'm Joe the trucker. That's
Okay.
right. That's right.
Okay.
And, I understand like the way government has their regulations or their hands in the trucking industry, farming and fishing. I just talk to these farmers and fishermen and truck drivers, and it's like, what can we do? And it really comes down to deregulating those industries and start allowing them to grow and prosper and be successful amongst themselves without government hand-ins, because the government should not be a part of that, in my opinion.
Right.
So we started talking about that, and then we started talking to the people all over the country and started realizing that if we just ask the right questions and we actually listen, the people, like you and I, will tell us exactly what the problems are in this country.
Okay.
I don't feel like other candidates who are wealthy or celebrities or career politicians truly get an idea of what it's like to be an everyday American, because they're wealthy. They don't buy their groceries. They don't, fill their cars up with gas. They have private jets. They have multiple houses. We know those struggles.
Yeah.
We know what it's like to stretch our dollar to survive. So if you don't know what the real problems are, you can't fix it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that gives me the upper hand, because as a bluegrass American and a business owner, a father, a friend, a son, I know what life is like from coast to coast.
So, talking to one of my old friends, Michael Biondo, who ran the Santorum campaign in the early days, he said up until you got traction in mid-December, a month before the Iowa caucuses, it was just Rick and Michael in a pickup truck driving around Iowa, looking for a group of 3 or more they could talk to.
Right.
So we're kind of in the early days, it's the lean days. Now you're at the Tulsa, Oklahoma State Republican Party convention, and we got most of 1,000 people here. What other groups you been to? Tell us about your itinerary.
Well, I will announce that on June 26th, we are starting our national tour.
Okay.
To do just that.
Okay.
I pick up a couple campaign staffers, driving from coast to coast, hit every state.
Gotcha.
It's called the Blue Collar to the White House Tour.
Okay.
It's funded by bluegrass people who donate $10 here, $20 there, whatever. And we stay in lousy hotels. Sometimes we'll camp on campsites, whatever.
Sure.
We'll make it fun, but our agenda is to speak to the general public of this country, because that makes up 99% of this country, and getting their support, whether they go left or right, doesn't matter to me, because we all have to live with the decisions made by those in Washington.
Sure.
So let's make better decisions in Washington.
Yeah. Now, Michigan, which is where your home base is now, your trucking company, has got some passionate conservatives. They've I watched what Tudor Dixon was able to do.
Yeah.
She came really close. They're running for governor. I've seen what they've done in the past. So you've got that experience. You've got, the great legacy of the Texans, the Lone Star State. You grew up in Texas, I
did. Central Texas.
Gotcha. So, all right, well, we're going to let you head on down the road on that. I'm glad you're going to be with us this weekend.
Yes, sir.
And I've been a part of several presidential campaigns, run some, won some.
Hey,
you
want to win another one?
Yeah. See, I'm being recruited already, Yeah, you might double my pay if we do well, right?
I can give you a job in Washington.
Yeah.
We can make
he's offering jobs for votes, No, we didn't hear that.
I don't offer jobs for votes. I offer jobs for results.
Oh,
that's what we need. We need results in this country, not people who tell us what we want to hear and then disappear. We need to be told the truth, full transparency. And that's what we're going to give.
I got 2 questions. How do people learn more about you or contact you?
So we have a website, AnthonyHudson2K24.com. We have email address on there. We have donations page on there. We have, even if you want to join our group, our campaign, we have a what we call an America's campaign, because it consists of all walks of life in this country.
Okay.
We have spots there. We have email addresses on that webpage. I believe the phone number's on there to get a hold of my office as well. And, even if you leave a message, we are very, very, very passionate about getting back to you, because we need to hear from you to make this work.
Grassroots, there's nothing that replaces grassroots.
No, there's not. So let's have a cold beer, let's talk politics, and let's make a change.
So there you go, folks. You've got an opportunity to be part of the ground floor. If what Anthony is saying resonates with you, get a hold of him. That's how I've started running statewide campaigns. It was just simply, I just called somebody. Sometimes it was DC, sometimes it was Texas. But I said, you need somebody in Oklahoma. It might be you, folks. It might be you. Until we talk again. And by the way, expect plenty of these reports from Fresh Black Coffee. Eddie will be here tomorrow, be part of it. And we look forward to making this a great weekend, and glad you get to be part of it.
And I will leave you on this note, Oklahoma. My assistant campaign manager is from right here in the Sooner State, and I'm from Texas. So ask how that works. But it works.
You want a name drop?
Chris Bridges is my assistant campaign manager. He's here with us this weekend.
Great. All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, betcha.
I'm here with Oklahoma Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell. Matt, it's good seeing you. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah. Hey, and man, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
ORU graduate.
Yeah.
Old Roberts, local.
Yeah.
Local, and I'm sure they're very proud of you, of their graduate.
Yeah.
And you've risen to the Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah.
You're chairman of the national GOP. And so tell me, how's it been going from campaigning nationally for national candidates to being the lieutenant governor?
You know, I was in all 50 states, 2014, 2016 election cycles, one of the best jobs I've ever had, meeting activists in different states. And I think one of the things that was so interesting was, Connecticut Republicans and Oklahoma Republicans, they do want the same thing. Connecticut may be a very blue state, but I think it was a good reminder to me as a conservative in Oklahoma is that the pendulum can swing anywhere. And you have just as many grassroots activists in Connecticut that want help as other states. So I don't want to get spoiled as a conservative in Oklahoma that we're always going to be red. It doesn't always happen that way. And my message here was, we got to lead united because at the end of the day, it's about beating Democrats. Because I think that is something that can unite Republicans of all shapes and sizes. But that was one of the things that was so, we're a fabric. I mean, the United States is such a diverse fabric of folks, but conservatives believe a lot of the same things in a lot of those other states. We just have to unite somebody for president.
Right. Now, one of the things that seems to be a troubling sign is that a lot of your California, not totally liberal, not totally left, but a lot of the liberals from these other states seem to be migrating farther east. Yeah. Texas in particular, from the north they're going to Florida, but a lot of them are coming to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And do you think there's a danger that Oklahoma could be turned, what would you call it, purple?
Yeah.
And
a lot of the folks that we are talking to that have moved to Oklahoma, they were moving just as far away from the politics as they were the anti-business environment that was in those states. The majority of those I'm talking to. But listen, there's no doubt Oklahoma City's changing a little bit. Tulsa is changing a little bit. These urban areas in a lot of other states are becoming more competitive congressional districts. And I think if we take our message, our Republican message, and show how radical a lot of that Democrat platform is, I think most common sense voters are going to see eye to eye with the Republican platform. We have to do a really good job with independent voters today in Oklahoma. That's something that's really changed over the last decade in Oklahoma. There's a whole lot more independent voters. Independents can't vote in Republican primaries. They can only vote in Democrat primaries. And so that's always been a message that I've had as well, is we've got to take our conservative principles and what we stand on to independents as well. Because I think independents, as the years go by here, are going to have more of an effect in general elections.
Oh yeah, no, I agree totally. Hey, let's switch to commerce now. And a lot of commerce is driven by roads, turnpikes.
Yeah.
As Lieutenant Governor, what role do you have in turnpikes?
I don't have much of a role at all in turnpikes. I do work with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation on roads and bridges for sure. More rural two-lane, so I spent a lot of time with Tim Gatz. Our rural two-lane highways are way too dangerous. We got way too many kids dying on two-lane roads because we don't have shoulders on a lot of them. So, and a lot of those are on very historic highways, Route 66, the Chisholm Trail, others. So, most of my time when it comes to roads and bridges issues are more on rural parks. So, turnpikes, not as much. Doesn't mean that I can't engage there if I was asked to be involved when it comes to turnpikes, but not my main swim lane as Lieutenant Governor.
Okay, yeah, because one of the things that I've been, and a lot of people,
Oh yeah.
Is the fees.
Oh, yeah.
Turnpikes.
Oh, yeah.
Turning them into,
Yeah.
as my partner Dave would say, turning them into autobahns. Like Europe.
Yes.
Where there's
Well,
no
and listen, this is an issue that you should continue to be talking about, because it's not unique to Oklahoma. Most states, if they're going to build a new highway, it's usually a turnpike road. And how much is too much? You're going to start pricing a lot of individuals, a lot of taxpayers out of the system, and aren't going to be able to use those. It gets very expensive. It does.
I was in Dallas earlier this year, and it's like unbelievable. Almost
every road.
Every road's a toll road now.
And the way that Dallas does it, and Oklahoma's going cashless as well. I'll drive through Dallas. I'm driving on roads. I don't even realize it's even a turnpike.
Until you get a bill.
Until I get a bill.
Or get a bill in the mail.
So it is something that we have to be talking about.
Yeah.
We have turnpikes. I think we will continue to have turnpikes, but there's also a big conversation of, well, when are those turnpikes going to be paid off? This was an issue in a governor's race 12 years ago, and I think it will be an issue in future gubernatorial races.
Now, as far as looking forward, what are your priorities right now in this term, and let's say beyond?
Yeah, so, right now, small business growth in rural Oklahoma. So Tulsa and Oklahoma City are getting there. So they're growing communities. And I'm glad they're good engines for us. I love our big urban areas, but we have a lot of towns that need a whole lot of help. Smaller communities that need to be able to create sales tax revenue so that they can pay for police and fire departments. And so a lot of my work is doing workshop trainings, both on the tourism side and commerce side, in the 75 other counties that are rural. That's going to be a big part of my job over the next 4 years. Shoreline development. So I'd say another issue that the governor is very passionate about and has really told me to go tackle is we have all these man-made lakes, but there's very little development. And I'm not just talking about homes on lakes. I'm talking about welcoming the private sector to help with shoreline development, marinas, more trail systems, mountain biking. All those things that younger generations are demanding from their communities. That's what we've got to be doing, and that'll be a big part of my next 4 years as well.
Great. And then I won't put you in a box to ask you what's beyond, what you see in the future, but I just want to wish you well.
Thank you.
And thank you for the job that you're doing.
I appreciate it. We love what we're doing. We're going to keep our head down and work as hard as we can to help the 4 million people in the state over the next 4 years. We'll see what comes next, but not making any decisions yet because we still got some time left.
Yeah. Man, thank you very much.
Appreciate you. Thank you all.
Yes.
Okay.
You're on.
All right. Here we are once again with our newly elected representative, Congressman Josh Brecheen.
I'm impressed that you pronounced it correctly.
Oh, it only took me. How long were you in the state? Brecheen. No.
Keen. For anybody watching, Keen, like you're keen on something.
Oh, really? Is that
K-E-E-N, Brecheen. It's a tough name.
But see, I actually have German. I was born in Germany.
Oh, wow.
That's why
Okay.
it's easy for me. Anyway, let's talk about you. Well, congratulations, first of all, on winning that election down there in the 2nd District. I have been really good friends with your predecessor, and Mark Wayne, but no.
And you knew Mike Schwartz.
Yes, I knew Mike Schwartz, who also worked in your office there after you were Senator Fulton for many years. Who did this a lot. So, anyway, how's it feel? Let me ask you this first of all. Okay, what's it like transitioning from the Oklahoma legislature into the U.S. legislature?
So I left state legislature in 2018, went home and started a business, and was home for about 4 years. And Eddie, honestly, God was doing the work in my life, touched with my heart. We have real problems in this nation. We have real problems in the state. I fought for true conservative ideology when I was a state legislator. To have the privilege, among many others, to work for Tom Coburn was so inspiring. In the years prior, I had that opportunity. And to watch someone who, there's a scripture in John 12, I think 43, that says that They love the praise of man more than the praise of God. And to see how politics causes a separation of people that chase the praise of man versus doing what they know in conscience is the right thing to do. I got embittered in my heart. I began to just really despise. And so that work in my heart, the Lord began to soften me in 4 years, whether it was on a dozer or an excavator or a semi-truck, the little business I was running, the heavy equipment business. And just began to ask myself, internalize, am I loving people as much as I want to see them do right? And so I mentioned that to say, the transition to D.C., and still the stalwart conservative that I've been, but to approach people in a way where I know that I can't influence them if I don't love them first and don't feel cared about. And so that's been the difference for me, is going at it, same conservative ideology, going at it in a way where James 3:17 says the wisdom from above is first of all pure, it's peaceful, it's gentle, it's reasonable, it's full of mercy and good fruits. It is unwavering without compromise also. So to be all those things, and know that it's wisdom from above. I mentioned that was to say, I think it's how we determine a nation, is we've got to be able to influence people. And I believe if we go back to the founding fathers, biblical virtue, constitutional adherence, this country has a chance. But I've got to be able to still hold my strong, true North conservative values and be able to reach people who don't see it, and to be able to have the opportunity to be in a conversation to reason together with them and say, look, this is what our founders said. This is the way they said it. They've got the prescription. Let's follow it.
So, how's that working with AOC?
Well, she did, came over, I think I was probably sitting, I don't know who I was sitting with. I'm in the Freedom Caucus, so she's to the far left, I'm far right. And so I'm kind enough just to shake her hand and just, be nice. And, there's a Charles Spurgeon quote I'm putting too hard also. It says, for us to hate those who are in error or speak of them with contempt or wish them ill or do them wrong is not according to the Spirit of Christ. You do not cast out Satan by Satan. You do not overcome error by violence. You don't correct hate by hate. The conquering weapon of Christians is love. And so, look, even in AOC, I'm holding out hope for it, man.
It's interesting because maybe I need to go to Washington because I'm having a hard time. I'm ready to pull in Elijah, and call the fire down. But I know what you're speaking to because in Matthew 24:12 it says, because iniquity abounds, the love of many will grow cold. And I think I see that happen to so many believers that it's hard.
We want to fight in our flesh. We want to see the egregious craziness, this transgender insanity is being advanced, and we want to fight it but we can't. We've got to fight it with the weapons, as a Bible-believing Christian, with the weapons of warfare. Yeah. We do the right thing. We do be uncompromised, but it's hidden in my heart for a reason because of the work the Lord did for me recently. That the man of God must not be quarrelsome. He must be kind to everyone, able to teach, patient when wrong, with gentleness correcting those in opposition. If perhaps he does that, then God may grant him repentance. I mean, if we'll have hearts enough, do it to speak the truth in love. It's a ditch on both sides. And so some people don't speak the truth because they love the praise of man. And some people do it in a way where they're embittered in their heart and they're angry, and that's why it's called the narrow road. Yeah. It's a ditch on both sides, and we got to be right down the middle. And I believe right down the middle. Washington's the one who put out. George Washington is the one who put out an entire book of maxims on manners. And Washington said this. He said, one of his maxims, he said, if God could give us a standard of infallibility among political opinion, Washington said, sign me up. But he said, because he can't do that, he said, the best I can hope for is upright intentions and close examination. That's George Washington.
Yeah. I mean, everything you're saying is exactly right. And I hope our audience adheres and understands, and because it is harder and harder, and that's how you end up with the January 6th situation, and a lot of people, I think, got ensnared, wrongly so, by the mob, that whole mob thing, and it's turned into a tragedy for so many families now. But
last 2-3 weeks ago, I went to the detention center and to see the conditions, and to talk to people. get accounts. It's not time to go into it, but just about whether or not the speedy trial act is going to follow. I'll save that for another.
Oh yeah, we definitely want to hear that. About speedy trial. I think it's anything but a speedy trial.
Right, it's the Sixth Amendment.
Yeah, it's crazy, and even the thing with Tario, the leader of the Proud Boys, what's happened there, wasn't even there, all of that stuff. But anyway, so what do you see as the priorities right now facing Congress, and some of the things that you've been able to be involved in?
So I'm part of the Freedom Caucus. I was a part of the group at the head of the year. Before we, were willing to say this is going to be our speaker, there were 20 of us that said we've got to get a Republican conference that drives towards spending restraint. We will, in 5 years, spend just the same amount for annual debt service, interest payments on our debt as we spend on military. In 5 years, we'll have $1 trillion annual debt service payments, and we'll have $1 trillion to spend on the military. And that is unsustainable. And they're talking about us running out of fiscal space within a little over 25 years in Washington, D.C. Well, we don't have the ability to navigate because half of our budget becomes just interest payments on all. So inflation is showing that we are in an economic nosedive. The average family in Oklahoma spent $7,000 more in 2022 than they did the year prior to buy the exact same goods and services because of the devaluation of the dollar. So people are seeing the tip of the iceberg of what runaway federal spending, years and years of it. We went from 1983 of a gross national debt of $1.4 trillion. Everybody knows where we're at now, 31.5.
What year?
1983. That's exactly 40 years ago, 2 generations ago. And now, this year, 200 years as a nation, 1983, we got to 1.4 trillion. We'll overspend by that amount this year. And so the debt is wealth mentality. That proverb that says that you become a slave to the lender because of the society that we have allowed personally, thus publicly, this debt is wealth mentality to get on us. We are a nation that is going to go the way of history if we don't return to constitutional adherence of what is the role of the federal government, 18 enumerated powers, the 10th Amendment. And if we don't right size and believe that the miracle that put us on the map as the shining city on the hill is the same miraculous providence that can restore our nation. And we got to get biblically virtuous again, and we got to become constitutionally adherent.
That's right. Yeah. No. And I hope our viewers and listeners understand that, because so many people just sit at home and either become angry, as we talked about earlier, or they don't understand it and don't care. Let the government handle it. We trust the government. It'll work itself out.
Both are ditches. We must stay engaged. We must stay engaged. We must be unwavering in our principles, but we've got to be able to reach people. And so it is a narrow road.
Yeah. So it's been an experience for you over there, and you're still learning.
Well, I would say, I'm excited. The Freedom Caucus and what happened at the head of the year, we are now, I'm seeing a Republican conference. Now I'm only, a little over 100 days in, pulling to the right. Because there's a famous quote that Billy Graham said. He said that when a brave man takes a stand, the spines of others are often stiffened. So there's some conservative ideology that is happening in that Republican conference. I'm grateful to those. It's not just the Freedom Caucus, the Republican Study Committee that Kevin Hearn is a part of, that are trying to help pull those that wouldn't be a part of the Freedom Caucus to the right fiscally. I'm proud of what Congressman Hearn is doing in focusing on the budget. So, look, I don't want to just describe it's only the Freedom Caucus pulling.
Sure.
But we've got a conference.
So you guys are like the ox before the cart.
There's a good group that are saying we've got to start dealing with our debt. We've got to start dealing with this lack of virtue.
It's obvious.
So look, I'm holding out hope. There are people out there that are, gotten embittered in their heart, given up hope. And like I said, I looked at a 4-year period where the Lord restored my heart and He's restored my hope. And if how do you eat a donkey/elephant-sized problem? A bite at a time. And so as long as we're biting on this thing at a time, it's why the Thomas Masseys and the Chip Roys, the guys that I'm dialoguing with, that I respect, I see what they're doing, and they have a lot of influence on many of us because I see the intention is pure, and they're willing to do it and go about it the right way. When Thomas Massey's telling me the other night, man, I'm holding hope. He's been for 10 years. He's a stalwart conservative. I'm optimistic. He's been there 10 years.
You think you'll be able to hold in the budget battle that's going on right now, you think you'll be able to hold everyone tight in this time and not budge or not totally throw in the towel?
I think the American people have to demand their member of Congress take a stand. And so all I can do is to be the ripple, right? To be the part that's stiffening spines. And I hope that other American people that are really understand the trajectory of our debt and our deficit problem, and it's finally hitting the pocketbook for this great level, 4-year high inflation, are going to demand Congress secure the blessing of liberty for myself and my posterity, as the preamble of the Constitution says.
How can the individual taxpayer, voter, citizen, how can they help? How can they reach others and try to convey to them the importance of getting our debt down, getting our finances in order in our nation? How can they help convince others?
So when it feels hopeless, we go to simplicity. I believe simplicity, restoring the doctor-patient relationship. Get there. Johnny Carson was asking Reagan a few years ago, 2 years ago, it's 40 years ago, Reagan, what are we going to do? And Reagan said, Johnny, we often look at government as a solution, often government's the problem. So what we've got to do is we've got to have people that really, they understand the Constitution, they understand the Federalist Papers, they understand what our founding fathers said. They can be able to get into a conversation with people when people are saying, our founding fathers were this. They say, wait a minute, no. Our founding fathers were this. And people say, well, that was the bygone era, and we've got to advance. And they've got to go back and say, it was George Washington who uttered the phrase that it's the duty of nations, to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God and to obey His will. Washington was saying this to a nation. It's the duty of nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God and to obey His will. Then listen to Jefferson, who's saying we should not allow our leaders to live with perpetual debt. The same Thomas Jefferson, who said that he called it the abusive state of man. He used a Latin term, and he said the four-horse of this frightful team is public debt, taxation follows that, and then its train is wretchedness and oppression. And we need to go back to Article 1, Section 8, and we need to have people that have studied Madison, what he said in Federalist 45, the powers of the state should be numerous and indefinite, the powers of the Fed is to be few and finite, and we need people that are well-armed, well-educated, and be able to go and talk with their liberal friends, moderate friends, and say, do you not see? We've been trying this growth of government thing for many years, and all it's doing is sending us into a nosedive. Maybe we need to go back to the prescription of the founders, two of the three first presidents called it the finger of God, being involved in a constitutional decision to put that Constitution together. And so we've got to become educated. Look, I don't know if I can advocate for this, but one of my favorite tools is the Founders Bible, written by Dave Rader. And because it not only is I'm getting fed on biblical truth, but I'm getting history, and I've got one that's pulled together by Gorilla Tape and glue, and I've had for years. And so get educated.
Yeah.
Get to know, where is your true north? And you can't lead anybody any further than you've been yourself. And then the question you got to ask yourself, don't change your message. Just make sure the way that you're going about it is the way where people go and they go, look, man, I sense that not only is there wisdom on that, but I'm drawn to that. And it will do the right thing, the right time, and the right way. Then the truth stands on its own. It's attractive. In a dark world, the light shines bright.
What is David Barton's ministry again? Out of Dallas?
Wall Builders.
Wall Builders, yeah. And exactly. You can get educated from A to Z. The Constitution, he deals with the lies that have been spread about slavery and the parties, how it's been twisted, the history, basically the history of the United States, and correct the errors. And we can't recommend
how far we've drifted from the prescription for this.
Exactly, and just how people have been deluded in this age of critical race theory, which is critical race lies, basically. And we've got to stop. But it's up to you at home and out there beyond to get educated and then educate others. So, and we're just so thankful to have people like you there, Josh. And
thank you.
I know Dave and I were just really praying and working to see that people were educated. We're glad you got in.
Thanks.
So praise God.
And I want to say this because I always tell people the problems at town halls, but I want to hear the people know the solutions. The same God who miraculous intervention in the crossing of the Delaware is the same God that as we continue to be a people that will adhere to Him, who can go before us and Him and stand behind. It's the same God who can resurrect this republic that's in danger right now. But politics is downstream of culture. And if our pulpits will flame with righteousness again, and we as people will learn how to be able to talk about the things we believe in and be informed and be able to lay it out and say, this is the prescription. So we're so far from it. I believe that the Lord will bless us. We'll get our house in order, and we'll elect people who do not put the praise of man ahead of the praise of God.
Amen.
On the local level also, school boards, county commissioners, state representatives.
From the bottom
it starts
up.
from the bottom up. Get involved. Get involved. If you don't like this hypersexualized culture that's going after, that's preying upon our kids, get involved. Go to your school board and memorize the scripture, because these are tough. Your emotions get worked up. When somebody's coming after your kids, rightfully so, right? But I've been memorizing Proverbs 16:32, which says, "He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who can rule over his own spirit is greater than he who takes a city." So when we can speak the truth, step on people's toes without messing up their shine, don't lose the message for the delivery, it's amazing the impact it can have.
I think that was for me. I think this interview was for me.
But it's for me, man. I'm the one who's focusing on these things.
So, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Honor. Thank you.
Amen. Appreciate it. Hey, Dave.
Alrighty. All right.
It's good. I'm here with State Senator David Rader, an old friend. I think we're friends. I hope we're friends.
And I'm still old.
Me too. And we've known each other for several years now. Coach, legendary football coach at Tulsa University. He was at Alabama for a while.
An association through our children in athletics.
Yes.
Booster clubs.
Yes. So we have a deep relationship. Not as deep as we want to make it, but
It goes back a ways.
it does. But anyway, I consider him a good friend. It's always, seriously, my heart gets warm when I see you. It really does. I get warm.
Same back, man. It's so good to see you.
Well, yeah, same here. So I was just wandering the halls, and who do I see? Coach David Rader.
We're going to call it Providential meeting.
Yes, they're providential. So anyway, yes, we had a meeting.
Before I ran for office.
Yeah, and what's that, about 6 years ago now?
I'm in the 7th session, so I was going to get to 7 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, and we met, and he asked me about running and so forth, and we had lunch, and I was excited to hear that you were running back then, and now you've already been there. Wow, this is great. But so, how's the experience been?
Mostly positive. I like to say all days are good. Some days are better than others.
Mm-hmm.
The learning process has been acute, of course, and just so thankful for the system in which we live, because when you go into the Capitol building and you look around and you see the people serving are just, they're you and me.
Right.
Yeah, they're you and me.
Yeah,
And
that's
they try
true.
to do the best that we can for the state. And so maybe it would be better if we had professionals. That was your career to do that. We don't do that. Permanence. And so there's at least every 12 years, somebody has to leave that district or to do something with their government years. So that way there's always the representation of the people.
Yeah.
So that's been very, very encouraging to see the quality of person that's served.
That's good. That's great. What has been the most challenging part of it to you, I think?
It's for everybody not to think the way I think. Not to vote the way I vote.
What's wrong with you people, right? What's wrong with you people? Yeah.
But seriously, it is the gathering of accurate information. We can all make better decisions the more accurate the information that we have available. So we have constant adventure in finding accurate information so we go forward. Now, there's not a lack of information out there, but who can you trust and what's accurate?
That's interesting. You know, that's very interesting because you don't hear that a lot. You don't hear that aspect that because everybody is ready to give you information.
Oh yeah.
But the aspect of getting accurate information, that's something you don't hear all the time.
And I don't know that if anyone has really lied to me, I think they would give me the information
What
that they know.
Right, exactly.
They haven't gone deep enough if I find an inaccuracy somewhere down the line. And I'm sure there's been, well, I know I've made bad votes, but I made them on the best information I had, and maybe later on you learn something that, oh, maybe that wasn't the best thing to do.
Right.
We're all striving for it. So for me, that's been the biggest challenge.
Right. Now, Oklahoma has traditionally been fairly conservative, very conservative,
Yep.
and I have to say I'm actually proud of our state for the way it's held fast in so many things,
Right.
and particularly in this last election that we had. I mean, I was actually surprised. I have to tell you, I was pretty surprised that we reelected the governor, state lieutenant governor, and the superintendent of education. These are kind of surprises to me. The overwhelming victories that we achieved, but it's like, are you seeing this kind of slow growing? To me, it's a growing danger of our metropolitan area, particularly the university cities. You know, Norman, in Oklahoma City, as well as Tulsa, turning more purple, pink, and eventually possibly red, because in those cities, they're starting to move overwhelmingly red and Democrat. Oh, blue. I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you.
I don't know if I'm surprised, but when I started campaigning, my eyes were opened about how many didn't think the way I did and where I had. And I don't know if that's bad. The numbers are growing some. But at the same time, Eddie, when I walk onto the floor of the Senate and Republicans had 40 of the 48 seats, I just don't know if you can have 48 out of 48.
And it's probably a good thing.
I think it is a good thing.
No, I don't want us to, either way.
Yep.
That wouldn't be good, because then something's wrong, I think. Right. So no, we need to have I think we need to be challenged and happy, but it's just kind of.
So within our inner cities and our university cities, that thought is probably going to be there. Social media has a lot to do with that, media in general to do that. So I'm not concerned. I wish that we had more Republican representation out of the city of Tulsa. But that's not the way that people are voting right now.
Right.
And so we still have the outskirts that are still red, and we've lost, a couple of blue, lost two blue, a couple of red districts went to blue in the House. But at the same time, in the Senate, we won back the Senate seat. That was Democrat seat. And that was a huge win. Senator Prieto in Northeast Tulsa and Owasso did a fantastic job. He's an excellent senator as well. I don't know if you've been able to talk to him. So I think I see it, but with the way universities are going and who's available for them to hire, we had to hold our own outside the campus, and continue to go on those values that we know are lasting, and don't feel like you have to win the argument. The idea is to win the war, and so that is so now we're taking off. So these are some of the things that we're trying to do in our education, and we're trying to do some reforms in our education. We want to fund education. For sure we want to pay the teachers to do that. but there's got, that's why the Senate has sent over some reforms to the House for them to consider, such as teacher qualitative pay, moving the school board elections to November, things like this, to see if more people will now be involved.
Right, that's good.
In the process, because that's what we should be doing.
Yeah, sure.
You get a politician here, I'm talking about you, so I'm sorry.
No, we love it. We love it. Talk on. Hey, so what do you see right now as the most important pieces of legislation coming before you guys?
Well, every year it's going to be the budget.
Yeah.
As far as physical, we've already passed some, to me, very important pieces. One is for the state to take a stand and say, for certain surgeries, children.
Transition surgery, sexual transition.
We're just not going to do that.
Right.
Our state and our people, we just don't want to do that. When you turn 18, we'll conscript you and teach how to use a gun and put you into the armed forces. You get to go start making your own decisions. So you make your decisions.
Right, sure.
But until then, we don't let children work in factories. We don't let children drive. We have a lot of things we don't let children do. So this is one of the things that we say. And we received some criticism on it, but Eddie is. That was very important.
Oh, very important. Yeah. So I mean, it's a no-brainer.
So we made that stand. But we still have to fund, because our Constitution says you can't spend more than you can. In fact, you're only allowed to budget 95% of what you think you're going to bring in. In the last few years, we've been doing 90, 92, 93% because we still complete the numbers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Again, we're trying to be conservative. So that's one of the reasons that we have.
We have a surplus.
We have a surplus to do it. So it's always going to be money. There's going to be always social issues. So we voted on the one social issue that seems to be important. Last year, we did our abortion bills. We had to do that. So those are very important bills. Taking care of the people's money are very important bills. And I don't know if you can say one is more important than the other.
Right. How about future? What are you looking at in the future that may be coming up?
Are we going to go into a recession? That's what we're always thinking about. So we're always watching our numbers there, our dollar numbers there. I think that if we're going to fund the education the way that we're funding it, and then again, one of the reforms that we sent over was for reading specialist teams to go out to improve our reading scores. That's going to be one of the things that we're going to have to see. The reading scores are going to have to improve because we're making an emphasis on this. To do that. And if that doesn't happen, then we're probably going to really question how it is that we can improve the education for our young people. That's our focus.
It's funny, when Janet Barisi was Secretary of Education, she made the statement, or superintendent, she was superintendent. It was a common saying that children learn to read from first to the third grade, and then from then on, they read to learn. And it is. And I've never forgotten that. And so if they don't learn to read in those first 3 years, they're stunted for the rest of their lives. And there's not that focus on these things. We got so much emphasis on critical race theory and learning your background, and Heather has 2 mommies and that kind of stuff. All this peripheral stuff that.
To elementary age schools.
Yeah.
Why?
They need to learn to read and to count.
That's it. Now,
after that,
we want to challenge later on.
Yes.
That's fine to challenge later on.
Exactly.
But let's read. Let's do it. And Eddie, you and I have talked about this before, and it must be said that our families, we need to turn that curve to where more families are hanging together. And instead of falling apart, because the better readers learn to read at first at home.
Yes.
So how can we empower the parents to do that? These are some things that our people need to understand. There's still some responsibility at home.
Oh yeah, and too many people have abdicated their role and let the state handle it, let the government handle it, and so forth.
How many times do you hear that? They say, "Well, the government needs to do something." And I'm like, why can't we do something?
Yeah.
Why do we have to wait on them?
Let me ask you about our turnpikes.
Okay.
What is the House and Senate, state legislature's role in turnpikes, the state and the future of turnpikes? Is there any role in ending the turnpike structure, just giving us freeways, freeways?
So there's nothing free.
Taxpayers will, but
here, we can argue, let's argue both sides.
Please, this
okay,
be
so
good.
one side is, okay, people are paying taxes, okay, get the roads, no more turnpikes to do that. The other side of the issue is that turnpikes are a user fee, and so why tax the people for something that they don't use? So there's two sides of the issue to do that. What we have done in the state of Oklahoma is that we've connected, I think the right number, I think it's 10,000, maybe it's 25,000. All the towns that have 25,000 or above, they've all been connected with 4-lane highways between them. Okay, so now we are in the process of just keeping the highways up to date and driving. If we're going to add a new highway, then it will be for whoever uses it. Because one of the reasons that we built turnpikes is that when we build that road, 40% of that road is paid for by out-of-state people. Where we take the burden off of Oklahomans by that 40%, and we can build more roads that way. Now, we look at other states. You see Texas is starting to build more and more highways that are for toll.
Right.
And most states are saying, okay, if we want to keep our tax burden lighter, one of the things we do is we have user taxes. And user taxes is for sure a turnpike. So those are the two ways to look at it. The legislature, the Senate for sure confirms the appointees to the commissions and things like that. As far as the process that those go through, those commissions have the authority to make those decisions, and that's where it stands right now. ODOT, of course, we appropriated ODOT so many dollars to do that, and that's how we can work with ODOT and an OTA. They sell bonds so they can build more, and then they charge the users. So the way it's been set up for years here, I don't see it changing any. It could change. But that would be the reason, is because 40% of the funding comes from out-of-state people. And I've been looking at taxes for a year now. If there's a way I can find to tax them across the state lines, man, we want to do that. It's hard to do.
Yeah, no.
But that's where we are. So, there's a discussion on either side.
Yeah, it just, what I think troubles people is that it keeps going up. Every time, I'll go to Dallas or Oklahoma City every 3 months, 6 months, and there's another 50 cents on it. Or even going to Jenks. You just go from Tulsa to Jenks on the creek or whatever, and it's a little higher, and then here's another road, and I'm afraid it's going to end up like going to Dallas. It's like you have to drive through city streets to avoid a toll road. Everything's a toll road in Dallas now, and it's gotten ridiculous. And you can say it's for out of state, but there it's not, because it's the people getting to work every day that are.
That's what they do in Dallas and Houston. That's the way that they expanded their system.
Yeah, and it's still a mess. It's still congested and crazy. And I think it takes some future looking to figure out how can we create roads, and alternatives and so forth to avoid these types. I'm expressing, I think, what a lot of citizens feel.
I just want the citizens to know that if we did that way, we would have to tax a citizen a whole lot.
A whole lot.
We would have to tax them a whole lot.
Okay, see, you heard it right there. A whole lot, not just more, a whole lot.
And I like what you're saying, but the roads that you're talking about that we want, we would have to tax a whole lot more. So right now, saying's right on. Right now, the state has said, okay, if we're going to build one, but we still want more out-of-state people to pay for it. So it's a user tax. And as conservatives, we should be okay with user taxes because I don't have to use it. If you use it, you pay for it. And that's what we're going to do. Now, one of the things I think, but I wasn't around now 50 years ago in the legislature, I was around on Earth, is that some of the highways that we built in the turnpike system seem to be out there with not a whole lot of traffic.
Indian nations.
And maybe that was built because somebody had extra influence in the legislature.
No.
We don't do that anymore.
Right.
Because we can monitor the plan that they have, and that's been one of the best things that Gary and Disney left us, is the 8-year plan, so at least we don't have roads where when we drive, they are beautiful roads,
But nobody's on it.
but it takes me a while to find somebody, either I'm passing or coming at me to do that.
You know, one thing I thought, as we all remember, was about 10 years, 15 years ago, we dropped our registration fees on our vehicles.
Right.
I know I bought a new car
Remember that?
so much, and every year,
We have to go back in.
yeah. And so, to me, it would be almost better to increase your vehicle tax
That's a great idea.
back up every year, maybe $50 every car that gets registered,
Because
and then you take away the
that's a good point.
the highway.
Because right now, tribal tax do not contribute to the highway fund. If you had to have your car registered, then that might be a good trade-out off of your tax on your car. If that's what you're saying.
Right.
That's why you come and talk to Eddie.
There you go.
Eddie has good ideas. Talk to him. Let me think about that. That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah,
Producer has a question.
You could call it the fresh black coffee tax.
Producer has a question. Senator, what do you think of moving our turnpikes to an Audubon class highway system?
No, that's
No speed limits.
On the inside lane and trucks stay on the
I'll tell you
outside.
what, you really get fired up for that,
I am.
right?
Matt
When you
Pinnell
start-
just told
When you start
me.
thinking about that, you say, it's not a bad idea.
There you go. We'll get Matt Pinnell to pitch it nationally.
Well,
Market.
Because you're talking about four-wheeled vehicles.
Right?
Right, 4-wheel.
On a 6-lane road.
Cars, pickups, right.
Yeah.
And that inside lane's just for the pass
Just for
cars.
them.
Yep.
It's hard enough, though, right now to get people used to the fact that the inside lane is a passing lane only.
Right.
You
But
still
know
have
what?
people.
Because again, thinking out loud gets me in trouble all the time. But we have 6 lanes from the Tulsa Turner Turnpike gate to almost to Bristol.
Yep.
And of course,
It's beautiful.
man, I'm with you. My stress level when I'm coming back from Oklahoma City and I hit those cities, it just comes down. So we're going to do the next of them. So what if we did that? What if we said, okay, we're going to make it 6 lanes all the way between Oklahoma City and Tulsa?
But trucks only in the right too.
Trucks
And,
only the right
and
way.
only in the middle one if they're passing.
See, Eddie,
But you got the Autobahn, you say, you
Yeah.
hit it.
Eddie was born and raised in Germany, so he knows what we're talking about.
Don't let the highway patrol see this, but I bought a new car. And I tested it out. We're going to Oklahoma City
Oh!
to see if it could do 160.
Uh-oh. We got confession time.
Yeah.
And it did 160.
Did it really?
I told my wife, don't look up right now at the
That was
speedometer.
kilometers though, right? Kilometers per hour.
No, we won't talk kilometers. But anyway, it did it. Unfortunately, that day, there was not much traffic on there. But anyway, but I'm used to driving the Autobahn. You know,
And I think
the blinking lights back there to tell you, move over because I'm coming. No, but
I think it makes a lot of sense.
I think it'd be great marketing.
Yeah,
thing
we
for
just
Oklahoma.
raise our registration again. You know, I mean, we don't have to go up to $800 a year or whatever, but we figure a
I think
percentage.
it's great. See, Dave, somebody else said this about the highways. Talk about marketing is paint logos on the highway.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. We already did BLM, right?
Because as you're going down the highway,
Yeah.
you see signs.
Oh, yeah.
And they're always located on private property.
Yeah.
All right, and so and good for that person.
Yeah.
Whoever's selling it.
Yeah.
Right.
Could
Why
be-
shouldn't the state?
Right-
Exactly.
Right here, as you're driving over, you
Hey.
see a logo that you know.
At least you're concentrating on your lane.
Right. And now the state receives it.
Right. That's a good idea.
And this is
Damn.
I'm glad I came on the show. We got-
Man!
We're going
Yeah.
to. He's giving marketing on the highway itself.
Hey, the asphalt will last longer, too, with the coat of paint over
I
it.
know. I keep.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. We sold it.
All right.
Hey, Senator, listen, it's been a real pleasure.
Always good talking to you.
Yeah, same here, brother.
And I just started following you.
Did you or you found it?
I found it. I'm going to follow you, so I'm looking forward to even keeping up with
Well, thank
all
you.
the things y'all are doing.
Yeah,
I
if there
enjoy
are
your
any,
interviews.
well, thank you. If there are any issues you ever want us to deal with, or you ever want to come on, yeah, feel free. Please just call me and or text or email.
That'd be great.
All right.
I would love to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless. Take care.
Hi, I'm David Mann with Fresh Black Coffee, and I'm interviewing our guest here, Alan Martin, right?
Yes.
Alan, you've got a compelling story here. You're at the Oklahoma Republican Party convention, and you're informing people about something not everybody's aware of. Could you tell us a little more about your family?
Well, on November 9th of last year, my daughter woke up and she complained of difficulty breathing and saying that her whole body hurt.
How old was she?
She was 18.
18.
And she said she was going to lay back down, see if she felt better, and she never woke up again. She passed away that day at 5:05. We learned while she was in the hospital dying, one of her friends told us that she had got the Pfizer shot about two or 3 months before. The doctors at the hospital said that she had a swollen heart and multiple organ system failure, and they couldn't figure out what was doing it. They never asked us if she'd been vaccinated or anything. She tested negative for COVID while she was in the hospital, and her toxicology came back clean. After she passed, of course, we handled the funeral stuff, and then we started doing a little bit of research because we were oblivious to the truth, what we know now. Because this information is censored on Facebook, it's censored on YouTube. All the commercials that you see on TV tell you that the shot is safe and effective.
Oh, yeah. And the last two presidents have told us that, too.
Right. So what we have found is that you have a 1 in 800% chance of having a severe adverse reaction to an mRNA vaccination. Statistically, our daughter had a 0% chance of having severe COVID.
Being young and healthy.
Yeah, she was 18, no comorbidities, no pre-existing conditions. She would have never succumbed to COVID. But the mRNA attacked her body. The spike protein attacked her organs. It swelled her heart, gave her myocarditis, and shut down her organs, and she died. We're still waiting on the pathology. Oklahoma medical examiners, it's been almost 6 months now. Wow. And they still aren't complete. We do have some additional doctors that are going to do the additional pathology to give us the proof, of course, of what we already know.
Yeah.
The mRNA vaccines, collectively, whether it be Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Moderna, or Pfizer, collectively they have 2.5 million adverse reactions reported on VAERS, which VAERS is the Vaccine Adverse Event Recording System.
Now, my understanding is you have to, as a consumer, as a patient, as a healthcare consumer, you have to find that website on your own. You don't get a lot of help getting to that. So, of the people, only 2.5 million have got there and successfully posted? How many more people?
Right. Some estimates are between 10 and 40%. That's how horribly it's underreported.
Okay.
There are a few doctors that will submit that stuff for you.
Good.
But in most instances, they will not.
Okay. Main reason I wanted you to tell your story here to our audience is other people are going to relate who maybe don't know, maybe need some coaching. How do I get this reported to bears? Or how do I communicate more with you and the efforts, and then tell us what you're doing?
Well, right now, because of Elon's takeover of Twitter, Twitter is now kind of the safe haven.
Okay.
Where it's the only place other than conservative media like Truth or Gab.
Yeah.
But we can tell our daughter's end of life story on Twitter, and so that's where I think we have the largest following. So you can find out more information on Twitter. That's really easy to follow.
Who are you on Twitter? Tell us your handle.
My handle is @Alan D. Martin.
Alan D. Martin.
It's ALLEN D. letter D. Martin.
Okay.
The hashtag, which is, I don't know if you guys can see it down there, but it's a justice for Trista.
Justice for Trista.
Yeah.
So that's hash mark justice for Trista.
Correct.
All right. Gotcha.
So if you follow that hashtag on Twitter, you can get all the latest information.
Okay.
We did get the opportunity today to deliver a proposed indictment for all of the bad guys. Alex Borla, Pfizer, all of the main bad guys. That was actually written by Dr. David Martin.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
So he wrote the indictment. I was able to hand deliver that today to Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell.
Yes, I was there when you talked to him.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's good. Hopefully we can follow suit there. I believe Mississippi is starting to turn around and want to take action.
Here's another thing. Now, I've raised 3 teenage kids, and a lot of times you find out after the fact. I mean, my kids joined a health club, and you charge thousands of dollars. And I'm like, you did what?
Right.
And dads and moms have to bail them out. You didn't get a chance to bail out your daughter. But there had to be a reason that compelled her. She needed a shot. Did you ever find out more?
Well, we did talk with some of her friends, and now historically we were not anti-vax people.
Yeah.
But we didn't really even consider this a vaccine.
Yeah.
And they actually had to change the definition of vaccine for this to meet the requirements.
Right.
But when initial rollout, we decided back then that it was probably a bad idea.
Okay.
Since it was rushed. And as a family, we talked about it. We kind of collectively just agreed that none of us were going to get it. We were all relative, other than me being fat. And other than that, I got no issues. But that we were relatively healthy. The kids were young, no comorbidities or pre-existing conditions. So it wasn't really something that we had to worry about. So we all kind of felt like we were on the same page. She had just turned 18. Excuse me. She liked to go to concerts. She was about to start college, and she wanted to travel.
Okay.
And so I know that when you're 5 years old, your parents are superheroes.
Yeah.
When you're 16, your parents are the dumbest people.
They don't know nothing. Yeah.
Right. So
how did they get so stupid?
right. And it's not until like 25, 26 that you realize your parents really aren't that dumb again, and you make that
especially
leap
when you start having your own kids. Then your parents weren't so dumb.
Right.
Yeah. But so just the pressure to go to concerts, because a lot of them and events, they said you have to show your vaccine card.
Right. And we were told that she had attended a concert at a venue in Texas in June, and she didn't have a vax card, so they made her wear a mask. And so it was just a bothersome idea of wearing a mask. And so then at that point, I think she said, mom and dad are dumb. Everybody says this is safe and effective.
Yeah.
I've got friends who've taken it, and nothing's wrong with them. I'm going to go get it.
Okay. So the other thing I, as a parent, and other parents can learn from this is keep talking to your kids, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's just life has regrets, and we can't look back. We got to look forward. But you can advise others. And what other advice do you have?
Well, when they're going to ask questions that we get a lot is, well, how come nothing happened to my kid?
Yeah.
Or how come nothing happened to the Joneses kids?
Yeah.
They got the vaccine. They seem fine.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've learned through all the research that we've done is there's a thing called hot batches. And hot batches are, when they manufacture the vaccine, we know now that it's produced in a lipid nanoparticle. And a lipid is a fat.
Yeah.
And we know fat floats.
Yeah.
So when they manufacture these in giant vats, the very first runs that come off of these vats are substantially higher in the number of lipid nanoparticles that they have in them.
Okay, so you can imagine, I used to work on a farm and they'd give us this raw milk.
Right.
And I always like to pour that first little bit out of the gallon on my cereal because it was butter fat.
Right.
It was good, right?
Delicious.
So that's kind of the scenario
Right.
we're talking about.
Right.
Okay.
So the very first runs that come off of these production lines have upwards of thousands of factors more of the lipid nanoparticle than the last runs.
And they're producing this stuff like crazy 24 hours a day, right?
Right. And the quality control on it is pretty much non-existent.
Gotcha.
There is none.
All right.
Yeah, so they're absolutely aware that there are these hot batches.
Now, there's nothing we can do about it, those consumers.
No.
We just have to be aware of that.
Other than just don't get the shot.
There you go.
You can get the shot, and it could be one of those lower batches.
Yeah.
And yes, you'll be fine.
Okay. So one more time, how do people get a hold of you?
Easiest way is to go on Twitter, look for the hashtag Justice for Trista. That's going to be the easiest way.
Right, and your handle is Allen Martin, Allen Martin, Martin.
With a D in the middle.
With a D in the middle. There you go.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for being part of Fresh Black.Coffee and enjoy the convention.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Have a
having
good
me.
day.